Okay, so thoughts on housing policy. Now, as I've stated before, policy under a resource-based economy can't really be set because if you set a policy, then that policy can preclude certain activities from taking place that may actually be useful, but we can't test them because policy says that we can't test them. We can't test them. So, from my perspective, setting policy is a really dangerous thing to do if it can exclude certain groups from doing certain things. Dangerous in its own respect, yes, but on the whole, I would say it's better to have flexible policy. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. That being said, what could you do with housing? Well, one of the great things that strikes me is that we don't deconstruct houses, or we don't deconstruct buildings. We smash them down and we go and dump the crap somewhere. Now that's just not on anymore. We can't do that. One of the things I intend to campaign on as mayor for Pororua is to try and put teams together. I've got a few incentive systems that I've been thinking about that I'd like to discuss with councillors and this and the next thing. But the essential thing is that you put teams together to deconstruct a house. You've now got, even if you can only save 3/4 of the house, you've got 3/4 of free resources basically. So you could either use those for helping to repair houses that are slowly decaying in the area, or you can send them off to a yard somewhere where they're manufacturing the house to bring in to replace the one that you've just deconstructed. So for me, that is what is possible under a resource-based economy, because we would actually choose to do things that way. I believe it can still be done with a financial economy, but there's a different kind of incentive that we're going to have to broach, and it's not necessarily going to be financial. What other things could you do under housing policy? Other potentials are, well, for argument's sake, if I carry on with my example, where are you going to put the family from the house that you're deciding to deconstruct? Well, to start with, you deconstruct all the empty houses, but if you had enough people from enough teams that were willing enough to go out there and deconstruct houses, you're bound to bump into a house at some point where somebody's living. So another part of that would be, well, let's take some of these empty warehouses that we have. These empty warehouses they already have electricity, they already have water, they already have gas potentially as well. They have walls and windows and everything else that go with it. Maybe not the warmest places in the world, but hey, you can work around that, because you could essentially retrofit these warehouses to be 3 or 4 houses, temporary houses. They don't have to be flash, they don't have to be fantastic. It's just a place to put people. When the house is getting when they're getting a new house basically, or they're getting the house repaired or whatever it might be. What else? Housing policy. Well, one of the things you have to look at from the resource-based economy perspective is you can virtualise a lot of jobs. And by that I mean that you can take jobs out of offices and put them back into the house where the person lives, to all intents and purposes. Excuse me, still trying to get over this blinking cold. The idea is that if we're going to have people that can work from home, you're going to have to do something with this office space. Well, again, similar to the warehouses, convert them into flats. They've got all the power and everything that they need. It's much easier to convert them to flats than it is to build new houses. It's much quicker, and it will house as many people as you like. It also gives you an incentive to take business centres out of town and actually build like a custom facility somewhere where essentially, if you need to have meetings, people in the area can drive to that place. That is, okay, out with the scope of housing, but at the same token, everything is connected in that respect. Because under a resource-based economy, we actually get to decide how we do things. But this sort of decision-making, in order to produce some form of policy, needs to be made in conjunction with the experts in the industry, the guys that are there that can actually direct us in the most efficient ways to do certain things. So, that's some of my ideas for housing, and some of how We could actually convert houses. We could convert, existing warehouses and offices into homes so much quicker than we could by building new houses for people to live in.